What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So today I'm going to show you a clip of Senator Bernie Sanders. He posted this on Friday. He's going to be talking about a variety of different things. He's going to be talking about the railway strike. He's going to be talking about Social Security, Medicare, and the child tax credit. So that's what we're going to focus on in this video. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, and then click all. By clicking all, you'll get notified anytime we post a video. We do daily videos, so by clicking the bell notification and clicking all, you should be getting updated every day. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play this clip. It's about 4.5 minutes, so it is a little lengthy. I'm going to play the full clip, so you're not going to see me on the side or anything like that. I won't interrupt anything, but at the end, we're going to talk about some of these different things. And wait until the end, too, because he really focuses in on what needs to happen, what needs to transpire in order for there to be change. Here we go.
I know that many of you have been following what's been going on with regard to the crisis in the rail industry. Let me just mention to you that yesterday, on Thursday, we had both a victory and a loss on the floor of the Senate. The victory was that we had every single Democrat except Joe Manchin vote to make sure that workers in the rail industry got 7 days paid sick leave. We also had, surprisingly enough, 6 Republicans coming on board that legislation. So we had a majority of members of the United States Senate, but given the absurd rules of the Senate, you needed 60 votes, and we did not have the 60 votes, so we lost. I should also add that our colleagues in the House did a great job, led by the progressives there, in making sure that that legislation, that amendment, passed the House. So I just want to say to the railroad workers out there, this is an issue we are not going to give up on. I'm a senior member of the Health, Education, and Labor Committee, and we're going to do everything that we can to end the absurdity of workers in that industry having 0 paid sick days. And, you know, as I think many of you know, when we talk about the corporate greed that is sweeping this country, which disgusts so many Americans, I think that it's fair to say that the railroad industry in many ways is the poster child for that type of greed. You have an industry that in the first 3 quarters of this year made $21 billion in profit. They have so much money they were able to provide $25 billion in stock buybacks and dividends to their wealthy shareholders. And on top of that, the CEOs of the different railroads were making, in some cases, $20 million a year. One guy made $14 million a year. Other guy made $10 million a year. These guys are making money hand over fist. The business situation for the railroads has never, ever been better. They're rolling in money. And yet if you're a railroad worker today and you come down with COVID, you know, if your wife is having a baby and you try to get some time off, you get penalized for that, you can get fired for getting sick in the railroads. And that is, you know, literally unbelievable in the year 2022. And it's just an extreme example of the kind of corporate greed that exists in our country today. As Congress winds down now, this session, it is clear to many of us that we have an enormous amount of work in front of us. It's not only dealing with the crisis facing rail workers, it's the absurdity that we remain the only major country on earth not to guarantee paid family and medical leave, something we got to deal with. We are dealing with the reality that in America today, tens of millions of our people are hurting. 60% of the American people are living paycheck to paycheck. You got older workers out there who've worked their entire lives. They got nothing in the bank, scared to death about their retirement, which is why we got to strengthen Social Security. We have to strengthen Medicare and obviously eventually move to Medicare for all, because healthcare is a human right, not a privilege. We got to deal with the childhood poverty in this country. We got to restore that $350 a month child tax credit. We got to deal with the dysfunctional child care system that currently exists. Got to deal with housing, where we got some 600,000 Americans who are homeless and 18 million households who are spending 50% or more of their income, limited incomes, on housing. And obviously, it goes without saying, you got to deal with the existential threat of climate change, or we're not going to have much of a planet left to worry about. So there is an enormous amount of work to be done, and in my view, the real change, the impetus for change, is not going to come from Washington. It's going to come from the grassroots of this country. When people stand up and fight back, that's when Washington pays attention and has the courage to go beyond their wealthy campaign contributors and lobbyists and the big money interests who have so much power in Washington. So we've got a lot of work in front of us. Despair is not an option. We've got to keep fighting. Let's go forward together, and thank you all very much for what you're doing. Take care.
Okay, so that was Senator Bernie Sanders talking about some of the issues. Now, unfortunately, we're in a lame duck Congress. We already know that, and we know that they're not going to be able to move forward with any of the things that he talked about, unfortunately, okay? So when it comes to Social Security reform, when it comes to Medicare, expanding Social Security, those things are not going to be on the table. When it comes to the child tax credit, it's not going to be on the table. They might address some of these things next year in 2023 when the new Congress comes in, but right now that's just not what they're focused on. But you heard what he said at the very end there. It's not going to come from Washington, D.C. It's going to come from the people. It's going to have to be grassroots. We're going to have people that are upset enough about some of the things that are going on in order to make change, because you have to get out there, talk to these politicians, and I know you probably can't talk to them directly, but you can talk to them through email, and you can also call their switchboard. And I have the number in the description of this video. You can find out any congressperson. So find out who your congressperson is, and you can call them and leave them a message letting them know, look, you need to expand Social Security, or you need to expand Medicare, and tell them the reasons why. So that's the only way that we're really going to see change. And so I like to educate you guys on what's going on and what politicians are talking about, but I can't do anything when it comes to making that change happen. It has to come from the people. And what happens a lot of times is when there's a situation like this, the politicians are only going to listen to the people in their districts. Okay, so a good example is I live in California. If I were to call a senator in New York or call a senator in Alabama, they're not really concerned with what I have to say. Why? Because they don't represent me, basically, is the way that they're looking at it, okay? So if you are in Alabama and you call the senator in Alabama, they're going to pay attention to you a little bit more than they're going to pay attention to me, because they know that there's a vote that they could be missing out on if they don't listen to what you have to say. And if these politicians know that they're losing support, that's when they're going to start changing their tune. Okay, that's the way that all works. He said a few things that when it came to the railway strike that I thought were interesting. One of the things that he talked about was the paid sick leave and the family leave and things like that. So if you get COVID, you could be in a situation where you could lose your job because you don't have paid sick leave. And so this is very, very important, right? And most people should be able to get some type of paid sick leave. Okay, I think that is something that when you think about it, it's almost like they're not getting sick leave, they're not getting paid sick leave, and I'm not just talking about the railway workers, I'm talking about everyone. Anyone working in a company, especially they're working full time, they should get some type of paid sick leave. But apparently that is not happening. So what I think they want to do, as far as what the Democrats want to do in the future, is they want to have some type of a bill, put some type of a bill on the table that will address medical leave, will address maternity leave and things like that. And so that's something that the Democrats want to do. But like we said, there's going to be split government. Okay, so you're going to have the Senate run by Democrats, the House run by Republicans. Are they going to be able to come to some type of a bipartisan agreement when it comes to something like this? Just looking at the numbers, and he went over the numbers as far as the just voting on the railway strike, that bill that they were putting forward with the paid sick leave. The paid sick leave bill, they received, all the Democrats voted for it except for one, Senator Manchin, and then they had 6 Republicans. Okay, so you have 6 Republicans to work with. So there's some possibility there to pass something in the Senate and move it over to the House in the future when it comes to paid sick leave. Not this bill when it comes to the railway strike, because obviously they've already voted on 2 versions, and the one version didn't have paid sick leave. The other version had paid sick leave. The version that had paid sick leave didn't pass, but the one that didn't have paid sick leave, that passed. So that will be signed off by the president, and they'll just move forward with that. However, they could introduce a new bill that covers paid sick leave for everyone who's working a full-time job. That could be something that we could see in the future, and maybe they can make that bipartisan. In the Senate, it could pass. In the House, we don't know what will happen in the House. So those are some of the things that he wants to move forward with. But unfortunately, we're not going to see too much movement when it comes to some of the things that he talked about. I will keep you guys up to date, though. Anytime that there's something that comes out, you have a politician talking about Social Security or talking about Medicare, expanding that, talking about the child tax credit, talking about anything that has to do with the middle class, working class people getting their fair share of the pie, then I'll make sure to let you guys know. So that's all I have for this video. So comment down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.